Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me directly through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is an internationally syndicated show solely due to the love and support that you all continue to show. We're available across all major podcast distributors. And like I mentioned, people, if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in because we are delighted to showcase this next guest on our network. And on the line with us today, we have the impressive Martin Terrell. Now, a lot of you may remember Martin when he was on our network last time. And listen, man, his books, his books are layered. All right, his books are remarkably enlightening and so forthcoming with some fantastic insights. We had to invite him back. It was a no-brainer. We're discussing his book, Unseen Scars, again here today. But remember, there are two other ones that he has. One is called Without a Compass. The other is You're Only Innocent Once. Once is not enough. All right, you're going to have to head on over to Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. But if you want to gather everything that Martin has in store, do no better than checking out his personal website. I really do mean that. It's martinterrell.com, a one-stop shop for everything that he has in store. And this man is quite the individual. I know a lot of you heard the previous time he was here with us, but for everybody else, strap in, man, because you're here for a treat. So again, it's martinterrell.com for everything that he has in store. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure, again, to have Martin here with us. Like I mentioned before, man, his book, Unseen Scars, is filled with poetry that is going to be remarkably insightful and also remarkably relatable to each and every one of us out there, to each and every one of his readers that pick up the book. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what demographic, what background you come from, where you stand financially. On that spectrum, this is going to be a book of poetry that I promise you is going to be relatable. You don't have to look any further than just the title itself, Unseen Scars, and how those two words are going to have a very particular connection to you in your life path and scars that have gone unseen for you. I could sit here and I could talk to him for hours, man. Let's just invite him here with us because I promise you the conversation we're going to have today is going to be remarkable and you're going to be loving it as much as I am. Martin, first and foremost, welcome back to People of Distinction and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks a lot for having me.
Well, listen, Martin, it is a pleasure to have you here with us again, man. I mean this tremendously. Your book, Unseen Scars, has been receiving some pretty fantastic reviews, and it is no shock to me as to why that is. But your two additional books are just as impressive, man. Entertaining, but wonderfully wonderfully insightful and fantastic messages to be found. And like, I think you're onto something here, man. You struck gold, and we're thoroughly looking forward to this discussion and the words of wisdom that you're going to be able to relate to our listening audience here. And for our listening audience members who happen to miss the previous occasion that you were with us, Martin, start by giving us a little bit more about your background, please. Who is Martin Terrell?
Well, Benji, I've been around a long time. I'm 78 years old, and I've had an opportunity to go around and to participate on both sides of the scale, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I've been caught in the maelstrom of being raised in the ghetto.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I've been exposed to the underside of living black life in the U.S. In that regard, raised, my mother died when I was 12. I had 4 sisters and a brother. I was the eldest. And it was up to me to be in charge when my stepfather was at work. He was a construction worker. He was a mechanic. And in our neighborhood, the oldest guy was the one who kept the kids, the younger kids, in hand. And I knew how to put diapers on my siblings. I was good at diapers and stuff. And but I also could protect them. No harm could befall them. And we were raised in a neighborhood that was kind of like a village. Most of the people were from the South. And but I learned how not just to protect myself and my siblings. I learned how to mix with people and become part of a village. And I think that that helped in my writing and learning how to see people and to be able to put people in an atmosphere where other people could see them. Later on, I did some things that I'm not proud of. Raised in the ghetto, I was exposed to drugs. I was exposed to prostitutes. I was exposed to everything. Hey, and listen, prostitutes, bums, and drunks, if you're raised with those people, you realize that people are products of their environment. I remember one time when I was a youngster and raised and ran away from home, it was a prostitute who took me in. An older woman took me in because I was a young guy with clothes on my back and said, "What are you doing out here on the street, young blood?" Took me, and not only did she took me in, took me to her home with her mom, and they both kind of just took me, the young stupid kid. And people would look at people like that and say that they're a prostitute. You cannot do that to people. People are products of their environment. And you have to see people where they are. And that's how I grew up. I grew up seeing people where they are and who they are. And that's how, in much of my writing, like I'll talk about a bomb or something, or being out in the park and nobody bothered me, because those are the people that I saw and knew close up. And I saw them as individuals who deserve to be known as individuals.
Martin, I'm going to jump in here quickly, man, because I love what you're saying. And I think that it directly connects with why I think your books are so powerful. You began first and foremost by talking about your experience as a Black man living in America. And that in and of itself carries a very distinct connotation that so many can relate to. But you're also talking about how certain people, right, being products of their environment, really victims of their circumstances. And often when we're talking about people from those backgrounds, be it prostitutes, drug dealers, people in gangs, whatever the case may be, we as a general society can be very dismissive of those individuals and their circumstances. And, listen, let's call a spade a spade. We can tend to be very judgmental towards them in ways that are a lot of times unfair. And if we stopped and really viewed those individuals from a different lens, right, from a more empathetic lens, we would start to see that their situation and their circumstances surrounding are much more nuanced, right? Much more layered than what we initially perceive them to be. Now, taking all of that and tying that back into your book, Martin, listen, your book is much larger than race. I mean, obviously that has a part to play, but your book is so much larger than an individual demographic. And I want to go a little further with this now. Your title, Unseen Scars, carries a vivid image that will be distinct to each individual reader because regardless of background or economic standing, each one of us carries our own scars that oftentimes go unseen. I mentioned this at the very beginning, and that has such a vivid connection. Well, let's take this opportunity and talk about that title, Unseen Scars. I'm curious, Martin, what does it mean to you?
Well, it meant many things to me. Some are very obvious. One, can I read a short poem?
Yes, please.
One is the opening poem, and because the other people who ask about your scars, they don't really understand. I can remember, the opening poem, there's a scar there because I can feel it. But it seems like it's been there forever, running like a 6-lane highway through the vortex of my soul. Any new scars, boy? The officer rasped. None that I can see, I countered with a laugh. Yes, I have some scars, and a few of them are new, but none are as deep and ugly as those inflicted by you. Calloused as an eagle's talons, putrid scars, pus encrusted and mean, seared at birth and scarred forever. The birthright and legacy of the unseen. The 3-inch slash beneath my beard grows deeper and uglier each day. A gift from a weighted nightstick, drumming a tune we both knew well. But it's the scar inside that disfigures me, contorts my reasoning, and smothers hope. Bile is sweet compared to its secretion. Hatred, despair, and submission. Show me your scars, the officer barked. I tilted my head back and laughed. Those scars are so deep, and some are inflicted at birth, that when the others talk about them, and say they have no idea of the width, breadth, and depth of those scars, because they last for a lifetime. And I may have mentioned this before. When I was a youngster and would go into a store, and the store dick would follow me. I wasn't stealing anything, but he would follow me. And if I would go into the dressing room, if I stayed in there too long, he would shake the curtain. What are you doing? Now, I'm 78, and I still feel funny if I go into a dressing room. I would not go into a dressing room with my wife unless she calls. That's the scar that I still have. It's unseen, but it's there. I'm writing a poem now, but I'm calling it The Black Stand-In. And the reason it's the Black Stand-In is this scar given to my white friend who lived in my neighborhood. They couldn't live in a white neighborhood where it costs more, but they could live in our neighborhood because they had the same social economic status. So, in essence, they were stand-ins for blacks, and they were treated as such. They were treated as we were. So that's the scar that they carried. They were treated as black people, and they were white. And I'm looking at it. In the poem, I mentioned that poor white women and poor black women, they share something. They have an insight. And the men in those neighborhoods, they claim that they run the neighborhoods, but they don't. The women run those neighborhoods. And they know, and they would tell you that it's not color that separates the poorer people from the wealthier people. It's very simple. It's the class division. See, and the poor people know that. And that's part of an unseen scar that knows no color barrier. It's the class thing. And I think that when I talk about the unseen scar, I'm trying to share that it's something that it's a scar that those of us by something, mostly it's a lack of education, and what goes with that is a lack of income, and that adds to a big scar that we carry and throughout the society. And through this book, it hits upon some of it, but there's more of it. That just hits upon some of it, Benji.
People, I'm telling you, this is some powerful stuff. Again, the book we're discussing right now is called Unseen Scars. You got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but make sure you check out his personal site, martinterrell.com. While you're there, Unseen Scars is only the beginning. He has 2 other books as of this moment, Without a Compass, and the other one, You're Only Innocent Once, and Once is Not Enough. martinterrell.com is the place you got to go. I'm telling you, pick up all of these amazing books. And Martin, I want to tell you, man, you have done something pretty special here with just your titles and how remarkably compelling each of them are, because each one of them offers such a distinct and unique message that leaps beyond the boundaries of any particular community or demographic. And I believe that listen, man, that is a mark of a great writer. Being able to connect with such a wide range of readers. Listen, you've done something special here. And I know that the work is just beginning, and there's a lot more. Well, Martin, the next place that I wanted to go speaks to a potential overarching through line through all of your books. And I'm curious, between Unseen Scars, Without a Compass, You're Only Innocent Once, and Once is Not Enough, And hopefully, selfishly for myself, a lot more on the horizon, in the future. But is there a particular theme or a fingerprint that you attempt to establish through your writing, that would be maybe your mark as an author? And if so, Martin, what would that be?
Well, Benji, I just try to. Well, the thing about it is, I don't try to hold myself back. As a writer, my goal is to open me up and say, this is me. This is what I have experienced. This is what I have learned. This is what has hurt me. This is what my pain has been. If you could see this, if you could feel this, maybe you could avoid some of it. Benji, this is what my writing is about. It's about shared pain and vision. It's not about getting rich. It's not about making money. Mine is about a shared vision and opening myself so people can say, hey, this is what he saw. If this happened for him, but he was able to stretch some of it together and tie it together. Maybe that's how it can work for me. Because the mind was torn apart. This is how it can happen. That's how I write. Like that. It's that simple.
There you have it. Well, simple, but remarkably complex at the same time, right? Listen, Martin, as we start to close out here, man, last couple of questions for you. I'd love to give you the opportunity to go into a brief description of another one of your books. And people, listen, as I've mentioned before, Unseen Scars is not the only book that Martin has to offer, okay? There are two other ones at this moment, and I'm going to continue to put it out into the universe here, fingers crossed. I truly hope that there is a lot more coming in the future. But Martin, choose another one of your titles, please, and give us a brief synopsis of what to expect when we head on over there and purchase it.
Okay, and you're only innocent once, and once is not enough. It starts out with heartbreak, but it ends with triumph. Because I was a success after having been a drug addict. I had beat that horse, and I was going to college half-time. I was working as a chief counselor at a drug center, and bam, that was just knocked all away, just in one fell swoop. And I was sent to prison for 6 to 25 years because I had a previous record. And I had to make a decision. Was I going to let what someone had done to me affect how I survived? Or was I going to make my own decision about what I was going to do, determine how I was going to handle what had happened? I decided that, okay, this has happened. However, I have some tools already. I had gone to Ohio State University part-time. I had worked as a drug counselor. I had some experience as leadership with other men. And I knew how to work with guys. So that's what I did. They had a college program in there. I jumped right on that. But they needed some help in other ways with the guys. I worked with the guys. At that time, black culture was big. You could get things done.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. They had a group, Junior Chamber of Commerce, and the institution was pushing that. I said, well, let's push the black culture and history group. We pushed that. And through that, we were able to do small things like have black Christmas cards, had the Muslim imam come in. Finally, we got able to go once a month out to the 3 colleges in Ohio and tell the kids there, look, I'm in prison. You don't need to go to prison because you're in college. You stay in college. This is what we're learning in prison. We're learning about black history. Here are some of the things we've learned. We'll share these with you. So we were able to do that. And there was a black history drug center. We worked in that. So we were able to do some things like that while we were still convicts. But in the meantime, I could also go to college. And at that time, there was a thing called Each One, Teach One.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was going to college, it was my responsibility to teach the guys in the group who weren't going to college something about what I was learning. So I was able to do that. That kept me alive.
Mm.
That kept me alive. So despite having been sent there innocently, I had things that kept me mentally. I could grow. I could feel alive. I kept the negativity away from me.
Mm.
And that's what that book is about. All the things that happened, and I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I graduated summa cum laude. I was given a full scholarship to go to Ohio University to their journalism school.
Wow.
And my life just exploded when I got out. It was a whole different life for me.
You know, Martin, I think there's so much there that you just talked about. And, you know, a lot of it, it stems from that phrase, each one, teach one. And listen, that's something I remember hearing growing up. I think that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. But I also feel like it's a notion that, you know, it's somewhat faded in recent years, or at least it seems that it has, right? Because, listen, Martin, you know, as a black man myself, I remember growing up in an environment that wasn't necessarily ideal for a child to be exposed to, right? But I remember growing up in this environment where it was very common to see gang members, prostitutes, homeless individuals, a lot of things that like you're talking about, right? These are things that I remember seeing. But interestingly enough, there was always a strong sense of community amongst all of them. And I remember oftentimes them giving me advice and them pushing me away from certain things that would have led me down the wrong path. Because, you know, listen, they saw that I was young, right? And young enough still to do differently. But they also were able to recognize my potential to do differently. And although I didn't realize it at the time, man, they were truly giving me a gift. And I love what you're talking about, Martin. I love that message because, again, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, man, so often we look at certain individuals and we can instantly place titles and categorizations on them that are disparaging and that are really unfair. And there is much more layers to that onion that sometimes it just takes some peeling back to really get a chance to know and to see firsthand. And I recognize that. And it's something that I can relate to, man. So thank you very much for sharing that. Listen, man, as we start to close out of here, Martin, I could think of no better way to do so than with another one of your fantastic poems. So Martin, listen, man, if you have another one readily available, myself, my listening audience, we're all ears, man. Take us home.
Thank you. This one, I don't know if I read this one before or not. Pass the boots, please. How can you pick yourself up by your bootstraps when you don't have any boots? My neighborhood is littered with broken down homes, broken people, and vacant lots. Where's that 40 acres and a mule when I need it? The neighborhood is a conduit, a pass-through to go somewhere else. It is in permanent transition with transitional people stuck in place. Throwaways in the projects warily watch would-be victims passing further south to the ballpark. It is a neighborhood of streets and numbers that makes it easier for outsiders to define poverty by branding its offspring as drug addicts and criminals. Those numbers are there for anyone to see, and those of us inside the numbers are crippled by them. Pass the boots, please, if you can find them. I'd like to pick myself up.
Martin, boy, okay, all right, let me, Martin, that was some powerful stuff, first and foremost, okay? And you mentioned earlier the line about 40 acres and a mule that the Black community was promised upon the end of slavery. And listen, man, we could have an hour-long discussion just on that. I think it's such a powerful conversation piece, people, because listen, again, and I gotta say this, man, because I know already, I've mentioned it, but I want to reiterate once again, his book is so much larger than race. It's not just about race. It compounds so many other things. But when we talk about just that concept of what 40 acres of land and a mule could have amounted to with the Black community. And when we really stop and we analyze the wealth gap between the African American community and others, man, Martin, let me stop, brother, because I'm not trying to make this about me, but my goodness. Yeah, listen, that's a discussion for another time. All right, we're going to invite you back on. We're definitely going to have that discussion because there is so much there to be unpacked. I love this, man. I love these books, and people, you already know it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, and most importantly, it's martinterrell.com. You got to purchase these incredible books today because I'm about to start preaching. I'm about to start lecturing over here, and I know I can't do it. This is not the time for it. So just head out over there, pick up your copies of these amazing books because this is all about Martin and what he has to offer. You know where to go. Start the conversation with those around you, and remember, it's much bigger than race. Man, there is a lot of other topic points. Class division being one of the bigger ones, but it's time to wake up and acknowledge those things. And these books are the precipice to doing just that. You know, Martin, I really do mean this, man. This has been an honor, an absolute honor, a true pleasure. Thank you for sharing your poetry. Thank you for your wonderful words of wisdom. And thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Oh man, thank you for having me, Benji. It's been a real honor to be with you.